So let's do a quick recap of N factors, something that we've already done yesterday. Now we need to do a recap because once we find the N factors, that's when we'll be able to calculate equivalent weight easily. And also N factors are useful for your balancing of reactions also. We already did the oxidation number method yesterday, the crisscross method, which I did. So that's why in order to do that also we need N factors. So just a quick recap. So first classify your reactions into two types. The first one is non-redox reactions. Now, how would you know if a reaction is redox or non-redox? If you have acid-base reactions or precipitation reactions, double displacement reactions, or in general, if you see a reaction where none of the elements are changing oxidation numbers, then you clearly know that the reaction has to be non-redox reaction. So in your non-redox reaction, your substances can either be classified as acids, bases, or salts. If you have acids, your N factor is the number of H pluses replaced. Dinclo, normal acids like HCl, HNO3, H2SO4, you can easily find the N factor as number of H plus that are there as 1 or 2. But then there are some special acids where the values are different than you expect. So let's do those special ones. So N factor in case of acids is number of H plus replaced. Now sometimes in a reaction, all H pluses are not replaced. So be careful. Example, H2CO3, when you make it react with NaOH, and if I write the product as NaHCO3, in that case, your N factor would be 1 and not 2. If I don't give you this reaction and I generally ask you what is the N factor of H2CO3, then you should say the answer as maximum number of H plus replaced. So in that case, you'll just say 2. Now for those special cases where you expect one value and you get a different value, your phosphoric acid series, H3PO4, H3PO3, and H3PO2. In this, its number of H plus, all the 3 can be replaced. In this, out of the 3, because of the structure that you have, only 2 can be replaced because one of the hydrogen is directly attached. We've already seen it yesterday. And this one, the N factor is 1. So your N factors are different than what you expect. And then one last example is H3BO3. In H3BO3 also, looking at the 3 hydrogens, you would expect it to show N factor 3. Sometimes it's also written like this to confuse you, but please don't get confused. It is not a base. It is still an acid. It's boric acid. And the number of H plus replaced under Dinclo. Dinclo, it is number of OH minus accepted. So you can also say N factor is number of OH minus accepted. This is a different kind of acid. It's not a regular acid like your H2SO4 or HCl. Those are all called Arrhenius acid. This one is a different type of acid. It's called a Lewis acid, something which doesn't donate H plus, but instead it accepts OH minus. And in this case, it accepts 1 OH minus. So therefore, its N factor is 1. Bases, though, unlike acids, we don't have any special types of bases and all that. It's just normal definitions. So first one was acids. Number 2, bases. N factor is defined as your number of OH minus replaced. Now, oka OH avutundi, rendu OH labo, ilanti case em raadu ikkada. Okay, all OHs are replaced. But you can also define it as number of H plus accepted. Again, H plus accept chese bases are not your regular bases. Regular bases are called Arrhenius bases, like NaOH, aluminum hydroxide, calcium hydroxide. They all give out OH minus. Whereas this one is called a Lewis base, which accepts H plus. It donates a lone pair and accepts H plus. So ammonia, how many H pluses does it accept? 1 H plus to become ammonium ion. So N factor is 1. The last and final category in your non-redox reactions is salts. Now salts are those species which are taking part in a reaction without changing their N factor or donating without changing their oxidation number or donating H plus or donating OH minus. Okay, so a substance which is taking part in a non-redox reaction without changing oxidation number. Ante, if you calculate its N factor by the formula of redox, the answer will come as 0. So, maamuluga redox ki ela cheyalani cheppanu. Like for example, if I give you KMnO4 and it changes to Mn plus 2, how do we find out the N factor? The change of oxidation number kada. So you're getting 5, right? So ila, if you have a salt involved, your change of N factor would come out to be 0. So whenever you get a substance whose change of oxidation number comes out to be 0, then please understand it is a salt. Yesterday someone asked that question also. 0 ostundi ikkada N factor, so what's the answer? And so 0 ostundi antene meaning it is in a non-redox reaction. And in such cases, N factor becomes your total charge of cation or total charge of anion. That or this, not both. Total charge of cation or total charge of anion. For example, if you have calcium phosphate, the N factor becomes, you have 3 cations each with +2 charge, so 6. Or you have 2 anions each with -3 charge, so 6. That or this, don't add them, don't subtract them, nothing. You can say 6 from here or you can say 6 from here. You don't have to give the sign, you just have to give the magnitude of the charge. This is all for non-redox reactions. The next category we're going to do is redox reactions. First మీకు reaction ఇవ్వంగానే is that non-redox or redox, classify it as that and then start applying this. In redox reactions, the first one is the substance is either acting as an oxidizing agent or a reducing agent in intermolecular reactions. Okay, so intermolecular reactions, it's either acting as a reducing agent or oxidizing agent, and only one of the atom is increasing or decreasing, and only one atom is involved. In that case, your N factor is equal to change of oxidation number into atomicity. Examples, we did a lot of examples yesterday, just adding a few more, or in fact the same examples. So when you take KMnO4 in acidic medium, it changes from +7 to +2. So your N factor becomes 7 minus 2, 5 into atomicity of manganese is 1. Evaraithe change avutunnaro, only dani atomicity. Whoever is changing, only its atomicity. Next, if I give you K2Cr2O7, it changes into Cr plus 3. How do I know this? I know inorganic, so I know the reaction. For you, the reaction might be given to you, or sometimes you might have to guess from your knowledge. So in this case, chromium is +6. It's going to +3. So change is 3 into how many such chromiums? 2. So answer is 6. If you have I2 changing to I minus, then it's going from 0 to -1. So the N factor becomes, change is 1, and there are 2 iodines. So N factor becomes 2. And last one, if I give you the same reaction as I minus gives I2. Now, in order to balance, you might be tempted to put a minus sign. Sorry, in order to balance, you might be tempted to put a 2 here. Whether you put a 2 or no, it doesn't matter. N factor adiginappudu, it's changing from -1 to 0. So change is 1 and only 1 iodine. Don't write the 2 outside. Atomicity and baita ennu unnayo you don't have to see. Atomicity is how many you have here. So the answer is still 1 into 1, 1. So this you might be tempted to make a mistake here. So be careful. The 2 on the balancing part doesn't matter. The 2 which is with the atomicity matters. So even if you have more than one atom and even if only one of them is changing, alanti cases kuda, it doesn't matter. You'll anyways take average. For example, this is called hypo. In hypo, actually only one atom changes. but you can just take it as average and give the answer. It's okay. So it's going from +2 to +6. Change is 4 and there are 2 of them. So answer is 8. Now let me tell you for this example, actually one of the sulfur is in -2 state. One of the sulfur is in +6 state. That's why both of them average is +2. So if you look at this sulfur, it hasn't actually changed. So the only sulfur which changed is this one. So you don't have to consider this change. So now what is your change of oxidation number? It's going from -2 to +6. So change is 8. Isn't that what I wrote already? So even if you have 2 atoms of which one is changing, one is not changing, you can still use this method. It's okay. Average oxidation number, you can do that and do it. So average value for me here is +2. So just do it normally. Don't get confused. It's going from +2 to +6. So change is 4 and there are 2 of them. So change is 8. So your N factor becomes 8. This is all when only one of them is changing. When more than one is changing. So again, it is intermolecular itself. It is still intermolecular redox itself. But this time, more than one atom is changing. But please keep in mind, even if more than one atom is changing, both atoms or 3 atoms should only be oxidized or reduced. Okat oxidize, okat reduce ala undakudu. So one atom cannot be oxidized, one atom cannot be reduced. Both atoms should be oxidized or both atoms should be reduced. What happens if one is oxidized and one is reduced? Then I should call it intramolecular redox. It won't be intermolecular kada. If you have As2S5, in which arsenic is going from +5 to say +3, it is reduced. Sulfur is going from -2 to +6, then this is oxidized. It would become intramolecular redox. So I can't use this formula. So both should be oxidized or both should be reduced. And in that case, your N factor is just summation of 2 N factors, Dandi Dindi separate. Find them out separately and just add them. Example, if you have FeC2O4, if you add an oxidizing agent, iron and carbon both are oxidized. Iron will be oxidized to +3, carbon will be oxidized to CO2, which is +4. So you have iron getting oxidized, N factor changing from 2 to 3. So change is 1 unit. And there is only 1 iron. So N factor 1. Carbon is going from +3 to +4. Change is 1. There are 2 carbons. So 2. So overall N factor is 1 + 2, 3. This is your most famous example. That's why I'm giving you this itself. Okay. And then the last one we did, disproportionate reactions. Disproportionate is a type of intramolecular reaction itself. So in disproportionate reactions, please find out the N factor for oxidized separately, find out the N factor for reduced part separately, and then simply add them inversely. So it's like resistance in parallel. Example, Cl2 converts into NaCl plus NaClO3. In this case, the reduced N factor, change is going from 0 to -1. Change is 1. And there are 2 chlorines. 2. Please don't say, ikkada rendu unnai, out of which one went like this, one went like this. No. You don't know how many went like that and how many went like this. And because you don't know what kind of balancing it has. Okay. So that's why please don't say that. Find out, assuming complete chlorine has gone oxidized, complete chlorine has gone reduced. So if it has gone oxidized, it's going from 0 to +5. Change is 5, 2 of them again. So 10. So if it is only oxidizing agent, its N factor is 10. If it is only reducing agent, its N factor is 2. So therefore, overall N factor, it's 2 into 10 by 2 plus 10. So that's 5 by 3. So that's for your disproportionate reactions. Just doing one more example of disproportionate. If you have P4 and if it converts to PH3 and NaH2PO2, N factor for this, it's going from 0 to -3. Change is 3, 4 of them, so 12. 0 to +1, change is 1, 4 of them, so 4. So your overall N factor becomes 12 into 4 by 12 plus 4. Answer is 3. So this is intramolecular where you have disproportionate. Now the last category is intramolecular reactions with the normal definition. So normal intramolecular reactions. Examples like KClO3. In these kind of reactions, N factor is either look at oxidized or look at reduced, any one. Just like for salts, we said either look at cation charge or anion charge kada. Atlage deentlo either look at oxidation, either look at the N factor of oxidized one or the reduced one. Both of them have to be same. If they are not same, then there's something wrong with your calculation. Chlorine is +5, it's -1. So the N factor change is 6, 1 chlorine, 6. That's one way. Or oxygen is -2, it's going to 0. So change is 2, 3 of them, so 6. So either look at oxygen or look at chlorine. Any method, your N factor is coming out to be 6. So therefore, your intramolecular reactions, N factor is defined as either N factor of oxidized or N factor of reduced element. Okay, any one of them, that or this. So this is your entire calculations of N factor. Now, once you have N factor, you can calculate equivalent weight as molecular weight by N factor. Now, once you have molecular weight by N factor, you can easily calculate equivalent weight of any substance. So equivalent weight of acids would be molecular weight by basicity. Equivalent weight of bases would be molecular weight by acidity, etc. Now I'm not going to repeat for everything. I'm going to give you an alternate definition of equivalent weight, the age-old definition of equivalent weight. Equivalent weight was defined as amount of substance that reacts with or produces, reacts with or produces 8 grams of oxygen, 1 gram of hydrogen, or 35.5 grams of chlorine. Beetle A definition and okay. And not just these, there is also definition with respect to bromine also. You can say 80 grams of bromine, all these also. But these are all old age definitions, age-old definitions, not the latest definitions. So according to these definitions, I'll just do one example. If I have zinc plus oxygen gives ZNO. According to your balanced equation, this is your reaction. So you have 2 into 65 grams of zinc is reacting with 32 grams of oxygen. So with 8 grams, how much is reacting? The calculation would be 8 into 2 into 65 divided by 32. So the answer is 65 by 2. That's your equivalent weight. Now let's use our modern methods to find out the equivalent weight. In this particular reaction, you're trying to find the equivalent weight of zinc. Zinc is going from 0 to +2. So obviously this is a redox reaction. In redox, if it's going from 0 to +2, how do you write N factor? Change of oxidation number into number of zinc. So N factor is 2. So once you find N factor 2, what's your equivalent weight? Molecular weight of zinc divided by 2. You're getting the same exact answer. So instead of using the age-old definitions, we can even use the modern definition and find out the N factor. We no longer use the age-old definition. We prefer the modern definitions, so we don't have to bother much about the definition of equivalent weights. The next thing I'm going to do, since we've done equivalent weights, is continue that concept and find out number of equivalents. Now, just like molecular weight gives you your number of moles, equivalent weight gives you number of equivalents. Now, how do you find number of equivalents? Dintlo em rasamu, weight by molar mass or weight by molecular weight is your number of moles. Similarly, here, weight by equivalent weight will give you your number of equivalents. Since we have a relationship between molecular weight and equivalent weight, obviously there will also be a relationship between moles and equivalents. So just replacing that, your equivalent weight is molecular weight by N factor kada. So adi pai kelte, you have weight by molecular weight into N factor is your number of equivalents. So this is nothing but number of moles. So number of moles into N factor is equal to number of equivalents. Now this is a very useful definition because from now on, I'm going to solve all my sums using this definition. How? How can you solve your sums using this definition? We are going to do something called as law of equivalence. So first I'll show you the law and then we're going to use that. Law of equivalence and the law of equality. So let's take a non-redox reaction which will make our lives easier. I'm going to take the reaction between barium chloride and sodium phosphate. So in this reaction, we get barium phosphate and NaCl. Let's balance them. So 3 barium, so I'll put 3 here, 2 phosphate, so I'll put 2 here. So there is 6 NaCl. Now in this balanced equation, we already know how many moles of barium chloride is going to react with how many moles of sodium phosphate to give how much of the products. So let's write that. Write the number of moles which are reacting. 3 moles is reacting with 2 moles to produce 1 mole and 6 moles. This is just stoichiometry in Rasnam. I'm not making any new statement. Now I'm going to ask you to write N factors, which is a new concept. So let's write the N factors of all the substances here. Now this is a non-redox reaction because none of them are changing. This is a non-redox reaction. So now remember the formulae for non-redox. All these are salts. So either take the charge of cation or anion. So N factor is 2 for this, N factor is 3 for this, 6 for this, and 1 for this. Now use that new formula I told you. Number of equivalents is equal to number of moles into N factor. Use this formula and you're going to get number of equivalents as 6, 6, 6, and 6. This is the beautiful concept you're going to do now. From now on, instead of relating substances stoichiometrically, ante 1 mole reacts with 3 moles, ila anakunda, we are going to relate them through equivalents, which is much, much easier. Your number of equivalents of any reactant equal to every other reactant equal to any product. Or in other words, number of equivalents is equal for any substance involved in a reaction. That's your law of equivalence. Then example to prove chess, and if you're not interested in this, you can do it for a general equation also. It will still be correct. Okay. So your number of equivalents of any substance is equal to equivalents of every other substance. So using this concept, you can solve sums very easily now. For example, if I ask you, how many moles of H2SO4 are required to completely neutralize 2 moles of aluminum hydroxide? reaction రాయకుండా రాసేయచ్చు చూడండి. How many moles of H2SO4 are required to completely neutralize 2 moles of aluminum hydroxide? Concept is equivalence of H2SO4 equal to equivalence of aluminum hydroxide. This is the equation I'm going to use. And equivalence bodula I can write number of moles into N factor. So N1 NF1 equal to N2 NF2. Number of moles of H2SO4 is not given. What about its N factor? Now please recognize this is acid-base reaction. So it is non-redox reaction. In non-redox, what is the N factor of acids? Number of hydrogens replaceable, that's 2. Number of moles given is 2 into N factor of aluminum hydroxide. Look at number of hydroxide ions, 3. So what's your number of moles of H2SO4 required now? 3 moles. If you want, you can prove this stoichiometrically also. So this is one example with acid-base reaction. Let me do another example with redox reaction. If you have KMnO4 reacting with oxalic acid, now you might not know the reaction, but you can guess the reaction. How many moles of KMnO4 are required to completely oxidize 3 moles of H2SO4? That's my question. Okay, so again, equivalence of KMnO4 equal to equivalence of oxalic acid. N into N factor equal to N into N factor. Ikkad varaku normal. After this, what are you going to do? Number of moles of KMnO4 is asked. N factor of KMnO4. Now, yesterday I gave you a list and I asked you to remember N factor of KMnO4 in acids, bases and neutral medium and cheppan. And most frequently used is acidic medium. So please remember it. It goes from +7 to Mn +2. So +7 to +2 is the change. So N factor in acid medium is 5. Please remember it. It's useful for solving questions. Next, number of moles of oxalic acid given is 3 into. ఇప్పుడు దీనికి N factor రాసేటప్పుడు, now here's the important thing. You might have to guess the N factor sometimes based on what reaction is given to you. For example, in this case, you know this is an oxidizing agent. And I'm saying you it's oxidizing H2C2O4. So in this substance, the thing which will get oxidized is carbon, because hydrogen is already +1 highest state. And to oxidize oxygen, it takes a lot of effort, because oxygen is the local gunda, I told you. So oxygen is very electronegative. It's very difficult to oxidize it. So who will get oxidized under carbon? What is its current oxidation number? +3. If I am asking it to get oxidized, it has to go to a higher state, and the highest for carbon is +4. So it has no choice. So from +3, the only choice for carbon is to go to +4. It has no other choice. Inka antakante paiki elladaniki ledu. There's no other higher oxidation state which is allowable. So +3 to +4 is the only choice. So change is 1 and 2 of them. So N factor is 2. And now, since we've done this example, I expect you to remember it forever. So whenever you take KMnO4 and H2C2O4 reaction, you should know the products automatically, because these are the ones which commonly are given in the sums, and every time it's the same substances which are given. So what's your answer? 6/5 moles. Okay, let me give you another example and show you another question. How many moles of K2Cr2O7 is required to completely oxidize 3 moles of ferrous oxalate? Again, these two are also substances which are very frequently given. Again, you're going to write N1 NF1 equal to N2 NF2. Akkadi varaku okay. Number of moles of K2Cr2O7 is not given. Number of moles of ferrous oxalate is given. So you just have to put the N factors now. So let's see the N factors. Chromium here is +6 oxidation number. Now please see how I'm writing the oxidation numbers very quickly because of practice. So please practice enough to make sure you can write oxidation numbers quickly. So chromium is +6 and it is oxidizing someone else. So it has to get reduced. It has to go down. And the only stable state of chromium is +3 apart from +6. How do you know that? I know inorganic, so I know that. How will we know it in the exam? Because I'm teaching you now, you have to remember it. You don't have a choice. So you have to remember, ante manam inorganic chese varaku till we finish inorganic in the future, you have to know that for chromium +6 nunchi +3 is the only stable state it can go into. So change is 3 and there are 2 of them. So N factor is 6. So N factor for K2Cr2O7 is 6. It's you, unless some weird reaction is given to you, hypothetical reaction is given to you, K2Cr2O7 will change its N factor to, will have an N factor of 6 if it is taking part in a redox reaction. If it's a non-redox, obviously not. But if it's in a redox reaction, the N factor is 6. Now, FeC2O4. Iron here is +2. Carbon here is +3. You are oxidizing it. So both of them will get oxidized. And what will be the oxidation states? From +2, the highest it can go to is +3. That's it. No other choice. From +3, this one has to go to +4. Again, no other choice. And both of them will change. And we already did this example before. So, what is the overall oxidation state? Add this one's oxidation state and, what is the overall N factor? Add the N factor of both of them because both are getting oxidized. Add N factor of both of them. N factor is 3. Ferrous oxalate, N factor is 3 whenever you use an oxidizing agent on it. It's a very famous reducing agent, very frequently used. So what is N factor of ferrous oxalate? 3. Bandagurtu petteskoni. So what's your answer now? It is 3/2 moles. Okay. One last example. How many moles of hypo are required to completely react with 2 moles of iodine? Again, this is a reaction you're expected to know. Number of moles of hypo into its N factor is equal to number of moles of iodine into its N factor. When hypo and iodine react, these are the conversions. Hypo converts into sodium tetrathionate, Na2S4O6. Iodine converts into I-. These are the substances it converts into. So it's going from +2 to +2.5, changes half and 2 sulfurs. So N factor is 1. Changes half, 2 sulfurs, N factor is 1. Iodine goes from 0 to -1. Change is 1, 2 of them. 0 to -1. Change is 1, 2 of them. So N factor for iodine is 2. So hypo and iodine reaction, look, this is the fixed N factors always. Again, so remember. Okay. So your number of moles you get as 4 moles. So these are the very frequently and commonly given questions. So this is how you can solve for number of moles and do the question. Now yesterday someone asked for the question where N2H4 loses 10 electrons and it's converting into a product. What is the final oxidation state in that product? How to solve questions like this? N2H4 loses 10 electrons and it's converting into a product. We don't know what the product is. So what is its oxidation state. Now I can say 1 mole of N2H4 loses, or I can say 2 moles of N2H4 loses. Let me solve both the questions. First, 1 mole of N2H4 loses chedda. What is the definition of N factor that I gave you yesterday? N factor is number of moles of electrons lost or gained by 1 mole of reactant. Okay, that is your definition of N factor. Number of moles of electrons lost or gained by 1 mole of reactant. So here 1 mole of reactant 10 electrons annadu. So what does this information imply to me? It implies that N2H4's N factor is equal to 10. This is from the definition, but I also have a shortcut kada. Shortcut is what? Change of oxidation number into atomicity. This is my shortcut. So I'm going to equate both of these and find out what is the change of oxidation number. So 10 is equal to this formula pedite. I'm going to get X equal to 2 kabatti. I'm going to get change of oxidation number equal to 10 by 2, which is 5. So 5 is my change of oxidation number. Is it going to be 5 addition or 5 subtraction? It is losing 10 electrons. It means it is getting oxidized. So oxidize it by 5 units. Here nitrogen is -2. Oxidation number is -2. And it has to, each nitrogen has to change by 5 units. So jump 5 places. -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. I have jumped 5 places. So the final oxidation state has to be N in the +3 oxidation state. So Miko options istadu. He might give you ammonia, he might give you NO2, N2O, and N2O3. So which one has oxidation state +3? N2O3. Okay. Dintlone, I can modify the question and I can ask you, if 2 moles of N2H4 loses 16, if 2 moles of N2H4, or second question, that was the first question, this is the second question. If 2 moles of N2H4 loses 16 electrons, what is the final oxidation state? This is my second question. Earlier was first question.